Hello YouTube and welcome to episodes 12 and 13 in my Owarimonogatari reaction series, wrapping up Owarimonogatari here today, which is relatively exciting, I would say. So right off the bat, I guess housekeeping. So I've been away. I've been away for the weekend, hence why there was no Symphogear. If there's any crossover there of people wanting to know where Symphogear is, it's just being forgone this weekend, which is unfortunate. But at the end of the day, I had a trip away. What can you do? So either way, I went away. I went to Melbourne, which is a fair distance away from me. So I actually picked up a couple of things. So, I mean, we'll start here. I got the Elden Ring official art book, which is cool. What do we got here? What can I show you? There you go. That's where you fight the guy with the hands. There you go. That's some art for you on a Monday morning. The other thing I got, well, one of the other things I got was the Nier art book as well. Very cool. So it's got stuff from Replicant and Automata. I don't know if people really care, but again, I think it's neat, so I bought it. You know what else is neat, and probably way more relevant to what we're talking about, is this. Hello. Hello, Bakemonogatari. Monster Tale Part 1, Nisio Sin. Very cool. Very cool indeed. Translated by Co-Ransom. I don't know what that means, but sure. I've just had a flick through, and it looks like a book. Looks like a book. And in the back, it's actually got a swashbuckling series from Nisio Sin, Katanagatari. Look at that. Very cool. Swashbuckling, sure. Sure, if you want to call it that. So yeah, that's my haul. I didn't go too crazy, but I like to buy that kind of stuff when I'm, I can actually look at it and see it. I don't like to buy that kind of stuff online generally. But yeah, but like I guess I'm saying I'm gonna read that, and then I may give some thoughts on the actual novelization of it and how it's different and how it's the same, how it's been adapted. That way I can add a little bit more of that into my thing. If I like it, I'll buy more. If it's shit and I hate it, which I don't think I will, I won't buy any more and I'll say I hated it. Which again, I don't think I'll do. But anyway, I've rambled long enough, so I'll do this. Some YouTube comments, not too many today, a few long ones, but not as many as I expected based on the content, which was very lore dumpy. I've got a couple of comments there which attempt to elucidate some things, make it a little bit more clear, which isn't unwelcome at all. First comment here, MC Steve. There's actually a very cool meta element to this part of the story. So the cutout stands that Shine uses to puppet the exposition is art used from Bakemonogatari's character design sheets. Wow. So I'll put up some examples here. Like, she's literally using stuff that the producers of the anime, Shaft, would use as reference for whenever they're drawing a character, right? That kind of thing. Their height, costume, how it sits on them, body features, that kind of thing, right? She's using these literal representations to move people around and tell her little story. She is literally removing herself from the universe of the anime metaphorically. She's above everything. She is the creator. She knows everything. She has some insight into the process. I think this is infinitely cool. What a great little touch to instantly describe how Gai Nezuko is referential to the rest of the cast and the story. Yeah, I think it's really well done and a really neat thing that Shaft did, and also pragmatic to boot. Like, they didn't need to spend any money on that because they had it anyway. Like, that's just good stuff. Next comment here by Matt. Since we're doing a grand tour of the Monogatari locations this arc, both my comments will be location related. So apparently I've been dumb. I finally noticed that the big old hidden snake in the background as they go to North Shirahebi Shrine. There's a big old snake in the water. If you look closely, there's actually two snakes, which I didn't look closely, so I only saw one. So that shows how observant I've been. It was actually first seen season 1, episode 10. So episode 10 of Bakemonogatari, which would have been part of Nadeko's snake, I think, if not very early Tsubasa Cat. Either way, like, That's very cool too. But I'm also dumb because I feel stupid for not noticing it up till now. And this, yeah, this had been mentioned before as well with the Namashiro Park not knowing the real name there or the true name, it being kind of nebulous. So that's continuing to exist into this part of the story too, which only makes sense, you would think. And I was very appreciative of this comment by Neilu, which basically just clears a bunch of stuff up. Make sure that I get the right things going forward into the next 2 episodes so I can not be lost, which is good. So basically, in Kabuki, when we time travel, Shinobu uses up the bad energy gathered at the shrine, which she says is there because she arrived in this town. She completely leaves out the reason for her coming to town in the first place, and the credit for the bad things gathering there goes to her. In the next episode, when they're in the past and trying to go back to the present, their assumption is the bad things gathered there in the present wouldn't be there yet because Shinobu wasn't in town yet. But to their surprise, there is indeed bad energy gathered there, thanks to the first kin. So I remember this back in. I just kind of question marked it back in Kabuki. I was like, okay, sure, whatever you say. But yeah, it turns out there was an actual tangible reason. It wasn't ancient evil. It was evil from 15 years ago. And of course, they went back in time 11 years, so the bad juju would still be there. Shinobu actually kind of references this factor as well. Maybe one of my kind came here, she says, as they're pondering over what caused the energy drift, but then quickly brushes it off. Little do we know that this would be very important for later stuff. So yeah, at this point, Shinobu has no idea that the first servant is there. And doesn't have any reason to believe that, so just kind of comes up with something on the fly. And yeah, you're right, during Kabuki was the first time she went to the shrine to go back in time in the first place. This is mainly the reason. It's their fault the first kin was revived. So the start of Kabuki, which would have been because of some summer homework, it was like 3 days ago, basically, or 2 or 3 days. Yeah, all because of the summer homework. This is the worst summer homework since Endless 8, since Haruhi. Spoilers, by the way, I guess. But yeah, it caused this spiral of bad things to happen to Araragi, which is kind of interesting, I think, at least. I also said that I didn't fully understand why Shinobu coming close to him would help him grow if it's not some kind of romantic thing. It's already established in the lore that, when Araragi is close to Shinobu, that they're stronger. That was literally a part of Owarimonogatari. And it's the exact same thing here. The first kin's master came close to him, and that made him strong, regenerate faster enough to become like a little boy, question mark, the next day. Or not the next day, but in a couple of days. You know what I mean? Very soon after, in comparison to the 400 years he'd been floating as dust. Mortemo, next comment here. The cover of the BL book is actually Kaiki and episode. So I got Kaiki, but episode, huh? Interesting. So yeah, it's, they're poking fun. They're being little weirdos, it's good. And now that Guyan has explained how the stage for the entire series came to be, the literal origins of everything we have going on, it's time for the resolution, which is, by all accounts, the best part. So, yeah. I actually really enjoyed last week's episodes too, so if these are better, then hell fucking yeah. Hell fucking yeah. And no answer to this question from Kramer either, if the BL actually exists, which I'm not going to go look for either way. John Bueno, lore dump episode, and he's going to do some lore dumping of his own, which is good. I guess some building upon meaning, in that we know that Kiss Shot, or alternate timeline Kiss Shot, during Mayoi Jianshi, or Kabuki Monogatari, we know that we know that she tried to commit suicide to the sun and then didn't end up dying. So you can extrapolate that out to the first and second servants, respectively. Apparently, Guyan goes into a little bit more of the logistical stuff about what she actually means by the connection between all the events from the 15 years going on and off. We know that Shinobu's kind already attracts oddities. That's part of the premise, basically. Because as aberrations slaying vampires, that's one way they have to feed. In the novel, Guyan repeats to us that someone who meets an aberration is more prone to meeting them again, but adds that even so, Araragi shouldn't be encountering them every other day like he has been. That's the connection. That's why his life is a little bit weird. The first stuff, the first ashes, it's bringing, aberrations to the area, phenomena. And just that small percentage increase is enough for life to get harder for somebody that's already going to see aberrations quite a bit, considering that they're, you know, tangentially related to the most powerful vampire in the world, you know? But even before Araragi turned into that explains stuff like the Phoenix and stuff like I think they explained some Yotsugi stuff. Yeah, that kind of thing. Oh yeah, and then this part, this made me think back to some very specific wording stuff we were talking about in Kabuki Monogatari as well. Guyan told us that the first recovering state was progressing very slowly, and then Meme came with the talisman, and he gave that to Araragi and Bakemonogatari, and he put it down, and supposedly, like, my job is done here, I'm going to leave. That's essentially what Meme did. Specifically, remember this too, he made quite a big deal out of the talisman itself, like putting all of the debt that Araragi had kind of accrued up to this point on the line for putting that talisman where it's supposed to be. Now that thinking about it, there may be something about these specialists not being able to walk on the mountain or something, because Kaganui had something similar. But Kaiki walked on the mountain? Question mark. Yeah, but because why wouldn't Meme, if it's that important, go up and do it himself? Would be my question. And again, we've kind of already explained the healing process and why the first actually regenerated. Just a little bit more here. Their blood link brings them closer. The first was slowly getting his form back, even during spring break. When Kishshot was kind of lured to that area, even though she didn't know it, that's when the Gaian network started acting, and you know, that's when everything popped off, basically. But what about the alternate timeline, right? Where, you know, Shinobu has visited that shrine. Why didn't we see the first come back there? And that's where we have the Meme Talisman wording thing come into play, right? So the difference between dispersing spiritual energy and absorbing spiritual energy is the thing there. I remember we explicitly spent a lot of time talking about this too, so now it's fun that that's coming back. Both had virtually the same results, but the second one was several orders of magnitude stronger. Araragi and Shinobu, who aren't even fully oddities, couldn't touch it without getting hurt, so that's the reason that the first didn't get revived. He was probably just destroyed completely, right? Yeah, and it's kind of weird, right? This arc is so much based off setup, right? And I'm trying to find why we're telling it here. You know what I mean? Like, I guess we're framing it in the Orgi framework of making Araragi feel bad. We're doing the meta layer of Araragi not wanting to tell these stories to anybody. Thus, we haven't heard them yet because the audience is an integral part of Monogatari. But yeah, like why tell the story this way? I guess, yeah, Orgi. Orgi's the reason why it's being told right now instead of when it should have been told. And even back then, back in the day, Orgi's also the framing device for Araragi talking about Kabuki and Oni, I think from memory. Yeah, so again, Orgi just gets Araragi talking. Last comment here by Trails to the Plus, and it's a style of comment that I really like. It's the critical comment. Ooh, we're getting a little bit critical. Because everybody here knows that we like Monogatari, right? And making a big long comment about how much you love Monogatari, even though I like reading them. It's not particularly unique, right? So going a bit critical, even being critical of some of their favorite things is important sometimes. I don't know, having a genuine conversation about it, seeing what we think. So Shinobu Mail feels like it embodies a lot of Monogatari's best and worst tendencies. The balance of the pacing is just really lopsided. Or perhaps it is more accurate to say that I don't find the content to be particularly substantial during the arc's first half. So if we're talking about like those first couple of episodes, I'm with you. I was waiting for a shoe to drop when we kind of get, I guess, the intro of where we're talking about. Then we get Araragi and Kambaru just kind of talking shop for a bit. And then the armor, and then we meet Shinobu. Then we do another kind of weird fight, and then we walk for a bit. And then we get into Exposition Town. Oh, I forgot. I even forgot the part where they got lost for a bit. See what I mean? Like, I even cut an episode's worth of content out there, which we'll get into now. I think Gaian's long and roundabout explanation is the peak of Shinobu Mail's overabundance of setup. This isn't helped by Gaian's bad habit of talking in circles, something that I noted in the moment as well, making the understanding a little bit more difficult. I guess she's just trying to get these concepts across to the audience, which makes sense. Yeah, I feel like we could easily trim out an episode's worth of content from the arc overall without losing much interest or consequence. I don't disagree here. It is particularly slow, especially when I was doing one a week. I'm like, but again, that's my fault. Like, I can watch more anytime. I just sometimes don't want to. But you know what I mean. But yeah, despite what's been said, Like, the remaining episodes are excellent, so there should be a ton of stuff to talk about, which is good. I like having a ton of stuff to talk about. Kramer and Kochin piping up with some small comments as well. Kind of in agreement, kind of in disagreement a little bit. Just, thoughts and feelings on it, which is good. Kochin at least saying that the setup itself, like, isn't worthless. So it's good that I went back through it and made sure that I understood, and it's not going to waste my time. So that's a good feeling too. And I guess just very quickly here, I'll read through this, which is the recap. Araragi and Kambaru immediately get to fighting that aberration that showed up, which has crab, snake, monkey components. It is defeated with the assistance of Heartspin and Shinobu. After receiving word from Guyan, the trio make their way to North Shirahebi Shrine. On the way, Araragi and Kambaru trade jackets, and Shinobu categorically denies the first servant being alive. When they get to the shrine, Guyan introduces herself as Oshino Izuko, Meme's younger sister, and begins to explain a fuck ton of stuff, but mostly zeroes in on the fact that the first servant is for sure still alive. We continue this monologue into that second episode last week, where we discuss the OG Aberration Killer, or the first, or whatever we're going to call them, how he came to the town, what he has to do with the shrine, Shinobu's actions, blah, 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 blah. And I did end up rereading it all and have a better understanding now. Some about dust, some about bringing aberrations to this one spot, something about an exorcist in the past, sealing this area. And that not existing anymore, and just the right place and time, and that kind of dragged Shinobu here in turn as well, and then the events played out from there, as we've described before. So either way, like, the conclusion of that piece of the arc is that this vampiric creation very soon will be back alive, eating people, getting too strong. We have to defeat it very soon. We have a cool-off moment where Shinobu reconfirms some things with Araragi. Like, there's some jealousy, envy talk there, some favoritism. But again, like, based on the end of the episode where we actually see the first in the flesh, I feel like there's more stuff to play out there. The end of this episode in particular goes into Kambaru wanting a particular BL light novel, where they send Araragi into town to get food and light novel, and then he meets OG Aberration Killer after getting laughed at for buying embarrassing literature like this. So, I can relate. I don't know. What's more embarrassed? I don't know. I'm not really embarrassed is a strong word. I'm not really embarrassed by any of it, but you know what I mean. So yeah, I guess that's caught us up. Some small predictions, like at least a little bit of a conversation between the first and Shinobu, clearing some things up there. I believe the broader Guyan wanting a shrine spirit enshrined at the shrine will come into it at some point as well. There's the Augie connection. We need to at least have a little bit of a conversation with her at the end. What else? Kambaru exists. I don't really know if we're going to go into much more of her stuff with her family and by extension Gai Nezuko. I don't really know. Gai Nezuko seems like she's just kind of left now. Yotsugi's seemingly still around. Episodes seemingly around, question mark. Are we going to directly link this into the end of Nekoshiro? Potentially. Either way, like, that's just broad speculation. I should get into the episodes proper, but not after my shill stuff. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I could do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you would like me to follow you back. And the Discord, join Discord, love Discord, Discord. And yeah, jumping into episode 12 of Owarimonogatari right now. Rightio, got episode 12 up here ready to go. Let me pop that up there. 24 minutes and 12 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly. As always, picture-in-picture provided in the description below. Sorry about the Oshinoko one in the middle of the week as well, that was terrible. But also Colgirl subs, I should say. I should get into... We're Monogatariing today. Either way, just going to give it a 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! Okay, are we outside now? I like the colors a lot. What? What the hell are you talking about, man? Yeah. You're a specialist? This is my prey? Haha. You're a specialist. Little girl? Oh, wait, no. Yeah, that the little girl stepped on your face. I'm pretty sure this is a little boy. That's a really cool shadow. Indeed. Haragi Dono. I don't know how he's going to take that. No, I don't think I will. I'm just trying to have another look at this opening here and see if I can grab anything. You are everything's interesting. Big first servant vibes, you'd think, right off that person. I can hear you call my name. First servant and Araragi. Again and again I can hear you. Forever and ever. My treasure. Question mark? Yeah, it didn't really get much there. I don't know. Just kind of seems like it's in the past. What's your goal? How do you know that? Well, it was a pretty intensive argument. Okay. Well, that's all well and good, but why does that mean I need to break up with her? Oh, like a heart span? Turning you into a vampire. Put you essentially in purgatory? Okay. I believe you. Hmm. Why though? I don't know. You had a little bit of time to think about it, I guess. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, yep. You went through the exact same thing. just, just mean dialogue though. Yeah, presumptuous. Okay, I'll fight you, IRL. Well, yeah, that's the idea. Okay, pros and cons. Yeah, in your weird little symbiotic thing. Well, now you're just lying. What, the sword? Give me my sword. Yeah. I don't know, I feel like Shinobu keeps saying, let's finish this. But once you guys actually get to talking, I don't know. Is that just like a time thing? Because Araragi, it was only a few days. Okay. It's a little bit intense. It's interesting, like this immortality conversation that we're having too. Bring to you? Why do I care about you? Whoa! Episode? You'd think. He normally has the big old cross. No way. Not the holy water. The framing's very interesting of episode. I'll talk about it, I think. Pages. I see, so you were actually trying to kill him. Okay, he's kind of based. Hello, my friend. Hmm. Yeah, we know. I'm going to run. No, you weren't really being reasonable, I don't think. Okay. Well, it'd also be nighttime, so, you know. Okay. He bought the bra too. That was a fantastic joke, by the way. That was so well structured. Oh, she's fucking dead. Pause. Why? Uh. Okay. Question mark. Your elder. What happened? What happened between you two? Take back what you said? I mean, okay. What would you feel so strongly about this, Kambaru? I don't understand. Head pat. At least talk it out a little bit. That's what I'd say. Well, yeah, it's an emotional thing. There doesn't need to be some benefit. Well, because it's a bit weird. That's a good reason. Out of a pure... okay, this is an interesting theme too. Yeah, like romance versus like scientific, logical... Okay. What's it a matter of? He is present. The only one. Okay. This was not the direction I thought this conversation would go. I thought we were going like funny. Well, I hope for the same thing too, but I just don't think that the first is going to take that. I don't care. Huh. Interesting. I'll talk about this in greater detail. Kinda. Hmm. I don't really agree with that though. Closure. She said the word. Hmm. These cuts are very cool. Bad with people. Get your hand off my face. How'd you make that mistake? Yeah, it's just getting good. Even if it ruins everything. You'd... Yeah, I mean, very well done, Kambaro. Ooh. Hmm. Nothing. Well, that doesn't mean there can't be... Hmm. Okay. Yeah. It would also be good, yeah. The squeeze of the hand. Lighting change. Yeah, she got shattered down. What is that? Oh yeah, so we can fight IRL. Yeah, let's fight. Oh, I thought that was the end. I could have sworn that was the end. Why is he so cool? Where are we dueling at? Well, it's probably one of the 5 locations in the show. Oh, sure. I mean, that is one of the locations. Thorough reprimand. Fair enough. Kambara just didn't get up. I mean, you know. She's very forthright. How did you know that? How did you know that? I most certainly did. There they are. Yeah, small little scratch. Yeah. What time of day is it? Okay. I also bought that. I'm not putting on your bra for you. What do you mean by this? That's not. Yeah. Oh, man. That's also good advice. Yeah, okay. Sure. She was smart accidentally. Now into episode. Alright. You may have noticed I didn't say much during that conversation between Araragi and Kambaru. It's mostly because it was really good. But it's mostly also because I just didn't want to, like, spout everything I was thinking in that moment out at once. You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of little intricate parts to that conversation and terms used that I think are very, very good. But broadly, I'll say right now that it's influenced by Kambaru's past in the show, particularly with one Senjugahara, who is integral with it. There may have been some other kind of love triangle there at one point, if you can call what's going on now a love triangle. And she may have some feelings about how to deal with those kind of things based on experience. And that's where a lot of her forthrightness in this is coming from. And I guess Araragi broadly feels like he has to do something now, engage in this duel, so as to not, so as to shield Shinobu from this process potentially. Even though I think what Kambaru is saying is broadly pretty healthy, at least talk it out. I don't know. Closure. Closure's the name of the game. Yeah, and a little bit of analysis on episode 12 coming right up. And we're back. We have a small summary of that episode, which again does not go into very much detail at all because I want to do it in the moment and give that conversation between Shinobu and Kambaru a very good read. This episode was great. That conversation between those two was definitely the high point, I think. Underrated comedic episode as well, I thought. A few moments had me chuckling for sure. Also, yeah, that first conversation between the first and Araragi, probably worth another look as well. Yeah, just solid stuff. Definitely building off the setups that exist in a variety of ways in the series up to this point. I still don't really see, again, this Augie connection. Again, I think something bad is going to be the implication from everything here that we've done that he doesn't want to talk about. Don't really understand that. But yeah, I guess I just don't really know. I don't really know. We'll find out in due time. I guess just out of interest, how long is this next episode? Because if it's a longer one, that may be worth. No, it's 25 minutes. It's not too bad at all. Anyway, small recap. Araragi and the First have a small conversation regarding what happened and how they feel about it, and the general goals of each other for what they want and how that pertains to Shinobu. And the First is like, hey, you need to fuck off. And Araragi's like, no. And that's essentially where we're at. I think it'd be an oversimplification to say that they were just fighting over Shinobu, but they're essentially fighting over Shinobu. This was a little bit weird and it happened very quickly, and also I'm dumb, but I think the implication is that whatever was in that drink during that conversation that they were having was intended to kill Araragi, or at least hurt him pretty bad. Some kind of holy water or something, where Episode jumped in and kind of saved the day. Probably watching from afar the whole time, him and Guyan. Again, Guyan knows everything. And hey, let's not let Araragi die just yet. So either way, Episode jumps in. Big old conflict brewing between either side there, where the first suggests a duel between himself and Araragi, essentially fighting over Shinobu. Where originally I was like, why would he agree to that? That's a stupid thing to agree to. But then we've got a great justification by the end of the episode, which is just good writing. Either way, this is the part I want to talk about a little bit more. But Araragi gets to the shrine, Yotsugi's there, pulls him aside. We've got a conversation between Kanbaro and Shinobu, where Kanbaro is pretty adamant that Shinobu should at least meet with the first and give him some amount of closure. Kanbaro feeling very similarly probably to this first type character, loved you for the longest, some kind of new flame comes along, you've gone off and done that. What about me? Did you forget about me? I know you had your own thing going on that you maybe forgot about me because of, which is justifiable, and then he fixed it. But what about me? Yeah, very, very, very smart stuff. I wonder if that, relates to Kanbaro's situation at all, relates to the first situation at all. Again, that's our connection. Where Kanbaro's probably had some time to reflect on it as well. Either way, Araragi basically ends the episode just kind of chatting up Kanbaro a little bit. Kanbaro gives him a little bit of advice in DIY, which she meant to be an abbreviation for do your best. But that's not what that means. But do it yourself is really good advice regardless. So yeah, I'll get up that episode now. That was very good. I liked that. Started on some very vibrant, colourful shots as we probably exited that bookstore and have a conversation between the first and the second. Yeah, this was interesting. The first describing himself as a specialist. Times have changed, but I won't ignore the marks of somebody else in my trade. They're both specialists. They're not really gonna, hurt each other, mostly because there's some mark on his face, which was the foot. So the foot wasn't just like a weird pervert thing, which it could have been, like, because Nisio is sin, but it was actually a device in which Yotsugi was kind of protecting Araragi, in a way. Essentially, Yotsugi marking Araragi, saying that he's mine, which also ties into a little bit of the, I guess, subtext? Around Monogatari, around Yotsugi being interpreted as a monster, as somebody that's a little bit more antagonistic towards Araragi than we think. Even though, again, Monogatari is its whole other mess of fourth wall breaks and characters knowing too much and anti-story stuff. But yeah, essentially that foot on the face had some meaning, and that means that the first, who is, now that I think about it, yeah, he is a specialist, some kind of aberration hunter. That's what he was from way back before he was a vampire as well. Oh, interesting. Yeah, essentially that is my prey, so hands off. Very antagonistic from Yotsugi, huh? If that mark wasn't there, I would never let a vampire live, considering Araragi is a vampire. But then what is you? Are you being facetious? Question mark. Also, how does that justify, what I think is true, how does that justify what's in that drink? Thoughts? I don't know. I'm glad a little girl stepped on my face after all, thinks Araragi, which is just a great thought. And then we get into this little hidey hole and have a good conversation. Yeah, we're really highlighting this drink. Interesting. I won't beat around the bush, Araragi Dono, which is what we're calling him, which I think is imbued with some amount of respect from my cursory knowledge. This is the request to break up with Shinobu, which to that I said instantly no, he's not going to do that. Break up is interesting wording too, though, because again, we're using the implication later in the episode that it's kind of like a romantic thing, that there's some amount of love involved. Where Shinobu doesn't maybe see it that way, but maybe she does, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is definitely part of the text, I think they're trying to say, is inferring this kind of romantic side to it, relating that to Kanbaro's, I guess, romantic third wheel situation as well. You say that your goal is making up with Kishot. Kishon and I broke up after an argument. I said some things I didn't mean. I want to apologize in the hopes that she'll forgive me. Interesting. That's the first thing you said when you were the armor was about the sword, more about the sword than anything else. And what is the sword used to kill? You know what I mean? That kind of vibe. I do believe there's some amount of honesty here, though. There could be some amount of compromise. Like, hey, I want to keep hunting stuff with Shinobu. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep doing that. But Araragi is cautious of this, thinking that, hey, maybe you just want to kill Shinobu. I want to be the blade that protects Shinobu. You probably have no eye for it. Say what you want, but my impression is that you want to get close to Shinobu to enact your revenge. Okay, yeah, you're skeptical. Gotcha. What reason do I have to resent Shinobu? Like, a lot. You didn't want to be a vampire. You may have cooled off that fact at one point or another, but that was definitely your base level. And then you had 400 years of basically purgatory in there as well, so that may influence things. Yeah, the justification, she revived me when I was on the brink of death. I'm very sorry for what I said, but, I want to make up, basically. But Araragi finds a twinge of truth in here, right? Despite what I thought at the time, right now I'm grateful. I can't refute what you're saying because I feel the exact same way now. Remember Kizumonogatari, again, a lot of the basis of the show. Araragi is, I guess, broadly pretty upset about being a vampire pretty early on, wants to not be a vampire anymore. It's a lot of the motivation, but he comes, I guess, what's the word? Gets used to it. Or I guess his greater Araragi personality trait nature takes over and does something inherently selfless, and then that's led him down the situation he's in now, which we've established is pretty good for him, at least at this point. So, Araragi definitely feels what this guy's feeling a lot more than most. Are you reluctant to give her up, basically? Because anybody could replace you, nobody can replace me. I'm like the chosen human. So very, humble, let's say. Araragi potentially calling it a little bit presumptuous, getting this look from the first. He's definitely very intense, probably leading to a larger conflict next episode, you would think. But this is, like this shot back here. This is more the vibe I'm getting off you, not this kind of stuff, right? You're not nice. I don't feel like you're nice. There's nothing to be gained by discord between us, but then you essentially try to poison me, right? And again, kind of almost lampshading it. In the end, we are basically two men fighting over one woman, talking about this romantic implication, everything. And this is where, like, particular focus on the turn of the lid of the drink, right here, and then drinking the drink, right? Like, I've drunk, now you drink. I thought this would be more of a thing, but they try to go into like the positives and negatives of the situation and how they should go through it in a very logical way. Again, contrasting logic and love, which is another, thing that they do later in the episode, helping the episode itself feel, I guess, thematically consistent. But my point being, like, they don't really even do this. I thought it'd be way more structured than this. This, of course, isn't going to make, like, Araragi feel happy at all. He's like, well, one of the pros is you would be rid of Shinobu. You'd be able to be human again. You wouldn't have the responsibility of all the Kizu stuff. I think it's the basis for his personality. No, he wants to keep her around, as well as, genuinely having that connection with Shinobu. I don't think he's ever genuinely seen it as shouldering responsibility. At a certain point, they're just like friends. I gave her the message. I don't think she wants to see you. I see, but whatever Kishot's feelings, I must have back what I gave away, which is the sword. We also see the kind of lid of the bottle flipping as well. So basically, don't care, didn't ask. I don't care what Shinobu thinks. I don't care what you think. We're going to be together. And I'm also going to poison you. The first says, I want to try again after 400 years. Araragi skeptical. Is that be her kin or is that be human? But yes, of course, we learned that you can't be human again. There's too much of a time gap there. But I'm past that now. Now I can spend time semi-eternally with Shinobu. Yeah, Araragi, just getting bad vibes, pretty much. But kind of end this conversation here with the first bringing it back to the initial point of, by kind of rephrasing the question, in that the first is like, did you think of anything that you staying together with Kishot would bring to me? Any good that would bring to me? Because I don't care about good to you, right? Which would have been the general implication of the question earlier. It's way more like, what can you do? How does this benefit me? You need to convince me not to do this. not, this isn't cordial. This is clearly combative. As we see here, I'm going to drink. No, I'm not. Gets flung away by Episode's big old crucifix, aimed also by extension at the first. And we'll talk about framing here, which I wanted to have a chat about. So Araragi probably doesn't feel very great about Episode, so he's framed as kind of like a cool guy, rogue, jackass type character, where when we saw him as Hanakawa way back in the day, he was just like chilling. He was just like sitting on a park bench. He didn't seem nice, but I don't know, he was just a guy. And now he seems very overdramatic, very anime. I think that's, interesting. The two different kind of looks at Episode we get. Essentially says, don't drink that, it could be poison. And then we get this look from the first, maybe implying that it was poison. Like, don't drink that, my guy. Like, that would be bad. We could have skipped a few pages if you had drunk my holy and holy unpoisoned chalice. Again, implying some things. If you so chose to cleanse yourself, why, that can hardly be called ignoring the mark. Almost Episode and the first finding some camaraderie here in the deceit and treachery used to dispatch of their foes. Kind of almost like a specialist code between the two. That's interesting. And then Gaian's just like, teleports behind you. Some very weird face on Episode too. Gaian here introduces herself, says that she knows everything. Just, the works. We've come here for a negotiation. No, we haven't. I'm going to, run away. Sorry, bye. I'll see you later. I'm going to go talk to Shinobu, or not. Yeah, we're going to continue the conversation with a duel. Tonight. To the death. And again, this is going to be at night, so you would imagine the first is going to be in the armor, very powerful. It's going to be a largely telegraphed action scene coming up, you would think. And bye, runs away. So that's the first part of the episode, essentially, right? Right through to about the middle. The joke here, which I think is one of the best setup jokes between episodes, is that both Episode and Gaian do not chase after, old mate, the first, because they see what's in Araragi's bag. Kind of, I would say, pornographic material depicting the both of them in different ways. So Gaian's like, why do you have this book of people that look like me? And then Episode's like, why do you have this book of people that look like me? Just, it's good stuff. Don't get the wrong idea. Just, that's a fabulous joke. It's probably standing as one of my favorite in the show. Just, that is, between episodes, the setup, just really good. Really good stuff. So I have this book full of donuts, bras, and books. I make my way to the shrine. I see this. So my initial thought is that we're going to do some kind of cute scene between, cute. You know what I mean. Between Kanbaru and Shinobu, where it's going to be like comedic. This is obviously overdramatic for effect, as Kanbaru scenes normally are. And it's going to be undercut by some kind of joke at some point. This is like, we're having this dramatic face-off because Kanbaru accidentally did something perverted. Or not accidentally, may have been perceived as accidental. You know what I mean? I thought this was going to be a joke. It wasn't a joke, it's actually deadly serious and actually the intro to one of the most interesting scenes in the show. Either way, Araragi gets pulled to the side by a disembodied hand of the bush. That's actually Yotsugi. They've been like that since I arrived. Interesting framing here too. We see Shinobu squarely looking at Kanbaru's neck, much like a vampire would. I thought that was a nice touch. So I see this as Shinobu broadly trying to put on this old vampiric wise persona and just continually breaking down as Kanbaru is just forthright in her opinions. It's great. Shinobu's obviously got reason to feel the way that she does. But so does Kanbaru, and Kanbaru is well justified through the events of the rest of the show. I just think it's an interesting clash of personalities, two people that are genuinely pretty stubborn, one just more stubborn than the other. If you take back what you said earlier, I'll forgive this little incident. So what did Kanbaru say? Either way, she won't take it back, she won't apologize. You have to meet him, Shinobu-chan. You have to meet him. We go into a little bit more later as well, but this is essentially Kanbaru putting her life on the line, but with I guess the knowledge of Shinobu in a way, right? And her closeness to Araragi in that she wouldn't be able to hurt me without ruining everything, basically. I think this is where we see the small claw mark on Kanbaru's head at one point later on as well. This is probably where that's from. There's also kind of like with the little scratch, there's the sub theme coming in of Araragi wanting to protect Kambaru from this little adventure to not involve her. So if this is the worst injury that she sustains, then, you know, maybe that's okay. Especially in that she was protecting me in the process, or, you know, at least telling Shinobu the right thing. The red light here is probably like the blood trickling down as well. You'd think, this is a line we see a lot from Kambaru, not good. That wouldn't be good at all, right? Just good and bad is very like direct words there pertaining to the situation, which I like. It's very direct. It's very Kambaru. Definitely forthright. Definitely based on stuff that's happened in the rest of the show. And here's the theme I was talking about before as well, right? Shinobu's like, well, I don't understand what you're saying. If you're going to say words, at least imply some kind of logic to it. Who cares about logic? This is feeling based. This is very emotional. This is the vibe. Why can't you understand that? Why can't you understand the relationship that's been building between you and your kin? I think Shinobu here at this point sees this as kind of like a bother, or at least wants to tell herself that. That, you know, he didn't regenerate out of sentimental attachment. This is just some weird thing that's tangentially my fault that I have to clean up. There's no emotional stuff to it at all. Kind of like how when she retold the story between herself and the first servant, she left out a lot of the emotional stuff there, right? She doesn't want to consider it. She doesn't want to look on that stuff. Even incorporating another theme, she wants to avert her eyes at this moment in time. She doesn't want to look at the problem directly and properly, using all facets of the problem that are involved. He didn't regenerate out of some sentimental attachment, but that doesn't mean that it's not sentimental as well, you know? Kambaru is kind of reading Shinobu here. I can see through your kind of guise a little bit. I know that you actually feel some type of way here, and I want you to approach that, because as me, Kambaru, have approached things in the past, it led to regrets. Yeah, continually pushing this emotional line is Kambaru as opposed to the logical one. Kambaru's trump card here in this regard is, hey, well, you say that this isn't emotional, there's no love or hate to this. Would you say that with Araragi-senpai present? Well, we basically know that they're like tight as. We saw Kabuki, right? Which is probably the most like connected emotionally two characters have been in the show? Question mark? Pretty much. Like, that was mere days ago that they had this huge affirming situation, experience, for their relationship. For their relationship being strong and based on something of genuine emotion. Like, you're just lying, Shinobu. And Shinobu doesn't deny that. She's like, yeah, well, you know, the only one I consider as kin is him. But Kambaru continues to see through this. I think that you think having more than one kin will be a problem. A problem emotionally that you don't want to face. And suggests what I suggested earlier as well. Are we sure there's not a way that all of us can just get along? Get some really great looks at Shinobu character art-wise here as well. Very vampiric. They're really playing up the animal eyes. Yeah, I think she's trying to put on her best, like, scary face a little bit. And essentially we get into it here. Kambaru's opinion, she doesn't fucking care what Shinobu does. But advice, person to person to Shinobu, is not to ignore it, not to let it fade away. I'd rather crush it than let it fade away, right? Even though Shinobu goes through everything and says, but if this happens, then blank will die. If this happens, then blank will die. If this happens, then blank will die. Don't care. It's good to do it regardless. Take control, effort, don't avert eyes, closure, all these things, all these themes coming together in this conversation. And again, I'll talk about it now. Let's talk about Kambaru broadly as a piece of the story thus far. Brought into the story through Senjogahara. As well as having the family connections, of course. But, like, brought mainly into the story initially as, hey, I'm really fond of Senjogahara. I'm deathly jealous of you having now a relationship with Senjogahara, in that when I saw you two in a classroom together, I went and wished on my fucking devil hand for you to fucking die. And of course, not a monkey's paw, I genuinely meant it. Like, broadly, Kambaru knows what it's like to kind of be in this kind of purgatory state for a while, be just drifting. Not taking control of her relationships and ruining the situation because of that. Understands broadly how, I guess, the servant would be feeling, the first servant would be feeling in this situation. If we're going to apply roles here, then, right, Araragi is Araragi, and Shinobu is Senjogahara. Which is interesting later when Araragi's like, oh, actually, you reminded me of Senjogahara, just as like a offhand joke to Yotsugi. Because obviously it's on his mind as well. And if we think about what happened at the end of Suruga Monkey, like, essentially, Senjogahara went to Kambaru and cut it off, explained things, potentially even metaphorically killed her in the process, crushed her. But in the long run, it made everybody a lot happier. There was closure there, and essentially everybody in the situation has gone on to bigger and better things. I don't know if we're going to have a stronger kind of ending there, as good an ending between the three involved in this kind of triangle in this arc. But yeah, kind of in a similar way to the way that Kambaru as the devil monkey thing fought Araragi in Suruga Monkey, we're going to have that confrontation next episode between the first and the second. Just interesting how we're replaying old story ideas to new ones in interesting ways. That's why Kambaru is here. She had a point. After all, I guess greater point than just being there for the guy and stuff. Cool. Yeah, again, like, you don't know anything, Kambaru. No, not really. But I know more than you think. Again, what I just talked about. All that baggage. I know how it feels to be first, and yet in second place. Wow. My analysis was correct. Wow. Or at least, that's what they're talking about. I don't know if I've taken it to the nth degree. Araragi here with this piece of dialogue too. That persistent feeling, so much like pure love. Again, I'll keep talking about it, the broad kind of love versus logic idea. And yeah, this is where we get into the I say statement, Kambaru denies it. So if we get like back together, right, he'll still be hunted down by all these specialists and that kind of thing. You just don't understand, like what would he even say to the bloke? I haven't seen him in 400 years. He hates me, he might kill me, he just wants his sword back. He might not be content with killing only me with it. He may kill you, he may kill Araragi. Despite that, you still have to see him. Nobody cares about logic. Why do people refuse to see others because of logic? It solves nothing. Unless you meet in person, nothing improves. Logic's interesting with Kambaru as well. I wonder if there's more stuff there. I don't know. I do not know. I was trying to think of something broadly with Guy Nezuko representing logic or something like that, but maybe that's too grasping at straws. I don't know. She clearly feels strongly about this logic versus love idea. I don't know. Like the logic of me actually having a relationship with Senjogahara? I don't know. That's an interesting... Like, this is the sticking point for her. I wonder why. You can't create a story unless you talk. Obviously, talking to our broad Monogatari idea in Monogatari of the story, of, these events needing to take place to form conclusions, which are important to stories as well, bringing in the idea of Owarimonogatari, the end of the story, as well as probably some other ideas there too. And then just calling her out. Just say that you're scared. It's fine. Just say that meeting with him would be akin to cheating on Araragi, so maybe you want to get it over without meeting him. However, that's a mistake. The only one you're cheating is yourself. Interspersed by these sound effects and these cuts to an increasingly nervous and frustrated Shinobu, which is an interesting technique. They probably cut back one or two too many times, but helps with the kind of rhythm of the scene, I guess. At least tell him that him reviving right now, it's trouble. I've moved on to somebody else. It's creating a problem for you, and he'll probably, if he loves you the way we're implying with this whole metaphor, that he'll let you go. If you can't do that, do not lecture me. You're being neither aloof nor noble. You're just bad with people. Interesting, because she was definitely putting on that kind of aloof vampire facade at the start. Don't give me that master and servant. You have neither right to be master or servant. We see Shinobu trying to kind of breaking through a little bit here with the kakakas, trying to, again, put on that persona of that vampire master. Yotsugi here senses a breaking point. Araragi doesn't agree. Another great little joke here. Why the romantic hand holding? Again, bringing in that kind of romantic idea to everything as well. But Like, you sense danger, you want this to just play out. Sorry, I thought you were Senjugahara. You creep. Yeah, good stuff. Again, Shinobu's still using this kind of personality, right? Do you have like a death wish? I really want to split your head open, even if it ruins everything. Trying to be scary again, putting up this facade, this guise. But again, Kambara knows that she holds all the power. Do it. Crush my head. I won't apologize for what I said. Do it now, and Araragi will be on bad terms with you. You would just avoid Araragi senpai like how you avoid the first Aberration Slayer. Just how you consigned the first aberration killer to the past, you'd consign Araragi senpai to some ancient fairy tale in the same way. You'll throw away the second like you threw away the first. How would you face the second when you can't face the first? After doing something like this, something devastating to him, something that is quote unquote unforgivable, will you just do the same thing you've done in the past, or have you grown? Would you do that to number 3, if there is a number 3, or 4, or 5? Are you just going to continue to do this forever? You're immortal, right? Leaving behind those that you just don't want to consider anymore. I'm sure that Araragi's told you that he would die with you. If you died tomorrow, he would go too. Did you tell him the same thing? I genuinely don't know if she did. I forget. The music here is obviously a standout as well. Just this really beautiful orchestral piece. Love the strings in it. Highlighting what is ultimately probably the most important moment of this arc thus far, you would think. I was going to say this season, but you know how that first half of the season went. This is where Shinobu kind of relents a little bit, right? Not wanting to see somebody is still an emotion as well, right? She doesn't accept that, Kambaro. Some people don't see eye to eye, but we have to see them anyway. But I'm not people. Certainly, it doesn't look like it. Interesting. Like, you're not acting like a person right now, a human. Again, having this conversation, at least, is Shinobu, right? Putting down that guise. Well, our union ended in spite, and spite was the only thing uniting us in death. I have no intentions of patching things up. I have no intention of talking about them as equals. Merely comparing the two is a disservice to my current master. Always loyal to Araragi. What good is there in showing the first my present harmony? What good is there in showing my master no affection? Are you saying that I should be so pointlessly cruel as to reject him? Yes, I'm saying that you should do that, because that was very helpful in the past for me. Yeah. Closure. Cutting things off. It's your job to hurt your old partner. And of course, implying this romantic thing to it, right? Like, essentially this is, hey, I was in a relationship with somebody once, like very like soap opera stuff. I was in a relationship with somebody once. That initial partner fucking died or went missing, something like that. I've moved on to a new partner. He's great. We're hitting it off. Old partner comes back. He's been found. What do I do? Do I just ignore the situation, or do I tell him the truth and how I feel right now? Probably what's best for the new partner, besides everything else about being missing, is to tell him the truth, right? Is to break it off and let everybody involved move on. And yeah, this is probably the best line of the episode. You're basically saying that things should be smashed before they fade. Yes, I am, damn it. Yeah, smash that shit. Break my heart. I don't care. And yeah, essentially, Kambaro doesn't care the method. Do that, right? Instead of just letting it sit like it has been for ages, we cut things off and we move on. Yeah, continuing to affirm, provide him relief, end the cycle. And yeah, here's the kicker, right? So if he comes back and he hates me and he wants to kill me and I kill him, is that fine? Yeah. But if he comes back and apologizes and wants to make up, the outcome's still the same. He's going to be hunted down by specialists. Either way, he dies. Would that be good? Yeah, it's good. And we get this little look from Shinobu. Like, almost like disgust, right? Like, here. Like, what are you talking about? Again, Shinobu not really understanding. All I can do is render unto him cruelty. Would that be good? It's good squeezes wrist. What if I meet him and, hypothetically, I want to respond to his feelings? What if I choose the first Aberration Slayer over your friend? Would that be good? Kambaro leans in. That would be good. I would love that. Again, Kambaro is the first Aberration Slayer in this little metaphor. Either way, break up with him properly. You know? And yeah, that's when we kind of break our lighting convention and end that scene. Maybe a lot of that lighting was Araragi's imagination. That was the first time I saw Shinobu surrender one-on-one Ononoki-chan, I want you to do something for me. Set up that duel. Take off the stamp. No more protection. I want to fight. This is a very small little chapter here where we have a small conversation with Episode about setting up the duel. And yeah, you know, as we go through this magical mystery tour of the Monogatari locations, we go to the school. Almost reminding me of Kizumonogatari as well, where we fight at the school and we fight at the cram school. And we fight at, where else do we fight in that? Like a stadium. If we end up in a stadium at one point, I'll be like, oh, that's clearly a reference. But you know what I mean? Like, we're harkening back to those old fights as well. And then, yeah, we just get a little bit of epilogue on the episode here as we chatted out with Kanbaro for a bit. Shinobu's decided to go pout and go to sleep. She's hiding in there currently, probably pretty distraught after being so thoroughly beaten verbally. Yeah, and then I don't really understand this. Kanbaro seemingly knows that he was hiding over there. I guess she just saw him, and then knows that Shinobu didn't notice as well. I don't really understand that, but needless to say, she kind of did it almost performatively for Araragi, if that's the case. Either way, quickly onto the book. She cares about the BL more than any of this nonsense. Araragi takes a look at the small wound on Kanbaro's head. Says she'll be fine. Again, small sub-theme of the arc of Araragi wanted to keep Kanbaro safe and out of danger. I'll start reading now, Araragi-senpai, so feed me, basically. She opens her mouth, says, just not going to feed her, just refuses to. A repeat of that similar joke. I'll just start reading now, Araragi-senpai, so put on the bra for me. And then we reinterpret the for food as some other the final part of the episode, asking for a line of advice from Kanbaro. DIY. Do your best. Do your best? No, that would be DYB. She's kind of dumb, that's been known. DIY means do it yourself. So she meant to say do your best, but do it yourself is also equally good advice. I decided against correcting her because that advice perfectly fits the current situation. So yeah, I'm dealing with this situation myself, rather than involving Shinobu being ultimately selfless like I have been. I feel like Shinobu's going to have some kind of say here regardless, but yeah, you want to take that bad decision, or, you know what I mean? That kind of decision out of her hands. In a similar way, again, to Saruga Monkey, where I went and fought with, or against Kanbaro. I think in a similar way, we're going to get that moment where Senjugahara breaks through that lighting system and goes and talks to Kanbaro and breaks things off. I think we're going to see a similar scene like that take place in this arc. Yeah. But still, Orgy connection. I don't see why that would make things end badly. But yeah, I'm going to watch that episode now, but I may come back the next day for analysis on it. But I'm going to at least watch it and get that out of the way. But yeah, this was really good. That was a great conversation between Shinobu and Kanbaro, and very referential to other things in the show, which I thought was neat. So yeah, I'll see you for episode 13. Rightio, got episode 13 up here, ready to go. Pop that up there. 25 minutes and 13 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly. As always, I'll have a picture-in-picture version in the description below. Call girls subs, and a 3, 2, 1. Rightio. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, we're actually going to talk to Senjugahara? Interesting. I always thought that you guys didn't talk. Interesting. Kinda. There's more to play out there. Once she's home, huh. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's intimidating, but also... No, he would love that. Very, very interesting, because of course Senjugahara is Shinobu in this little metaphor. That's great. Better match. Okay. Well, yeah, that's an amazing thing to say. Yeah. Huh. I don't really get that. Huh. Special, because the first was talking about special as an idea too. Interesting. Yeah, I realized too. I'm smart. I love hearing that. I'm happy that you called me. I'll be waiting for you naked. Potentially. Interesting. That was, yeah, affirming for a lot of my theories from the last episode. That's just swell. Um, that I'm not completely stupid. I don't know. I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp of things this arc, kinda. Rather than the broad logistical stuff of the Gaian conversation, which I was kind of struggling with for a little bit, but we got there. I'm just thinking about how Nisio Sin kind of reverse engineered the story. He obviously wanted to tell um, this kind of related story between kind of the love triangles of Kambaru and the love triangle of this servant came back. How do we get Kambaru into the picture? It's very smartly done. Yeah, good writing. Yeah, I thought he'd be the armor too. Oh, hello, Guyan. Hello, episode. Hello, Kambaru. Hello, Footface. This is very intimidating. Oh, thanks, mommy. Is that still the same voice? Oh, yeah, okay, cool. He had his own voice back. Okay. No, she doesn't know. I'm being selfless, like I generally am. Yeah, okay. Oh, you want a handicap? Okay. Uh, what am I looking at? Kendo stick? Oh, stun gun. Okay. Okay. So, not really a fight to the death, but more like a... Gotcha. You plan ahead, too, is that line. What? Oh. Are you going to teach me how to run? Oh, that's a cool connection. Okay, prep time. We like a bit of prep time. Please help me warm up, Kambaro. Okay. Okay. 7-meter sprints? But it's 10 meters. You're not warming up. You're going to do a hamstring or something. That would be a pity. Okay. You know what they say about shoe size? I think I remember somebody sending that. Okay, and this is the first time he's learning this? Oh no. Why didn't you tell me that? It's some kind of story that was told like 6 months ago. Yeah. Yeah, we had a small conversation. Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. On the same night. Look at her. You can tell by the face. She has the resolve. Yeah, her house is going to burn down. Oh my god. No, Hanako was stronger than that. Interesting. Just delay the duel. Say, time out. Can I go see my friend? The light. Okay. Oh, sorry about the mic. They would demand my immediate attention. But you're greedy. You want it all, don't you? Okay, bye. I don't understand this Karen part. What is this? Yeah, she kind of can. She's strong. That's just a game theory? Interesting. She sent that text knowing that you would come. I'm going to do it all. I trust my queen, Hanakawa. Hanakawa? Hanakawa. Alright, that's a Monogatari-ism as well. Has to be. How many... oh yeah, she's like 9 phones. Okay, hello Heartspan. Why are you here? Interesting. Wait, did somebody... how'd they get the sword? I guess, I know Shinobu sent it, but how? Why? We have tarried. 10 steps? Well, she is, but I think she's going to at least... well, it is. I think she's going to have some closure here. Don't care. I want to save the other two. You wouldn't get it. Yeah, this special thing, right? Yeah, because we brought in some Chosen One stuff earlier as well. Okay. Countless could replace me, but they're not me. Alright. Oh yeah, the feet coming back. That's pretty smart. Building tension. This has been really good, by the way. Oh, you also saw the little vampire bite marks. He should be like already there. Oh, yo, he's wearing that kaiki drip. Oh my god, Araragi's gonna fucking die. Okay. What is happening? Why do you leave a shoe? Okay, I just ran past you. Question mark? Oh. Get sealed? Oh, so that's why you were looking at that before. Okay. And you didn't expect that. Yeah, you fucking cheated. Uh, okay. Millipede. Oh, okay, I kind of get it. Like all them aberration energies that you've been like feeding off of. Ooh, what a great visual. You're really not going to make an appearance? Oh. If we can meet, let us meet. Kiss shot. You're running out of time. Well, that's very pretty. Okay. Cannibalism? And that's his name, is it? Or am I stupid? Alright. She drank up all the soda. Yeah. You... Very interesting visually. She's doing the thing, everybody. Progress as a character. We love that. Oh, the moon. Okay. That seems mostly fairly positive. Yeah, this like Sky's big Kizu vibes too. I don't understand what they mean without salvation. Yeah, I kind of just won. I went and helped. I helped Hanakawa. Oh, look at these pajamas. My Vanguard. So Kambaru did something broadly about the Araragi house? Question mark. I don't remember that. What is the final piece of the puzzle? Are you me? Koyo missed. Oh. Oh. That's way late in the day. Think she did. I don't know. I never really noticed. The armor was his bones? The bones are their money? Okay, double heart span? What are you talking about? Dream span. If I were Guyan-san. Hmm. Okay. That's what you think. I know that's what you don't actually think. Yeah. Well, yeah. She said that before. Okay. Now what? Why are you here? I want to check my timeline quickly after this too. Well, yeah, we know this. You tell her way too much. Oh yeah, you're in the house because after Monogatari. Now I remember. And what is that? Oh yeah, that's you asked this question early in the show, I think. Well, you drank your drink instead, and then the scene changed. I'm made happier. That matters. Something about being selfish. Music's very good too, by the way. She loves a spin. Well, we've talked about trying to be happy, of course. Okay, he's being a little bit of an edgy boy. I wouldn't call it apathy. I think he would enjoy that. Okay. I don't really get that, but sure. Well, I mean, somebody else's thoughts changed. Okay, this is kind of tying into a lot of the Sodachi stuff. Time for happiness. You're just going to look me in the eyes and then end the season. Fair enough. Unique ED, everybody. With the song being slightly different? Sounded kind of different. Maybe like a re-recording. Yeah. Loves a donut. Yeah. In large swaths, I'm like, I understand this, I understand this, I understand this. And then in small moments, I'm like, I don't really understand that. Like, what? I'm going to continue saying, what is Augie planning? What did you mean by this? Why do you say these things? I don't get it. And I just wanted to check timeline, but I probably won't do it anymore regarding the Yotsugi stuff, like why she was there. So we've basically solved everything that the shrine has to offer. The whole Nadeko thing, the whole thing where Mr. Jojo was up there, and then the whole Suki Monogatari thing happened. Like, yeah, okay. And then then we're leading into future stuff from even there. Interesting. And this ED is only slightly different. Interesting. Okay. Nobody's happy. I guess just before I forget about it, because I'm going to stop recording for now here. This was Koi Monogatari. This is when we kind of fix the Owarimonogatari problem through the POV of Kaiki. So that was January. And then Suki Monogatari was February. And then we're in March where we're doing some exam stuff. Yeah. Which would have been just prior to graduation because you're doing university entrance exams and that kind of thing, right? And then Hana Monogatari's after this even. And then I think there's some broader stuff in the future during this where we're like, hey, this goes even further beyond this. I think there's some implications about May from memory. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so we're firmly sitting in this gap. Augie's still around doing Augie stuff. She hasn't stopped doing Augie stuff. There's some implications at the end of Hana Monogatari regarding some devil parts or something that may be in the hands of one, what's her face? Gainazuko. And then we're implying some things about Dreamspan, a sword. I didn't see her eat the armor, but I know that Episode and Gainazuko were around, so I would not be surprised if at one point or another there's some kind of devil part sword person. Question mark. Probably not that direct, but you know what I mean. Like, Augie's planting some seeds about Gaian, broadly. Okay, but and now I'm done. I'll talk about some stuff and do a write up for the episode. But broadly, yeah, that was really good again. In particular, the scenes where Shinobu's breaking down. I thought that was really well done. I liked the opening scene with Senjugahara. We haven't seen a lot of Araragi Senjugahara up to this point. Yeah, I mean, really good season of television, guys. I'm gonna be real. I thought we maybe peaked in the start of the season, but this ended very strongly as well. So yeah, or through the middle broadly. Those three arcs are basically one arc. The Sadachi arcs and the one Orgi arc. Yeah. I'm gonna stop talking. I'm so bad at this. Yeah, so I'll see you tomorrow for some more analysis on episode 13. And we're back. It's the next day. Kind of slept on that episode. Had a quick look through it here again whilst writing this summary. Still really good. Really happy with it. More than anything else, I'm really intrigued about the stuff that I didn't understand. Well, namely the end, what the Orgi implication is to all of this, which I've had to think about, and had to think about its placement in the story and where it is, and what's Guyan planning at this point, what's Orgi potentially planning at this point. This is at the end of the episode that's post Monogatari, so we're at least broadly aware of Orgi and should be relatively, what's the word, cautious of her. At least people not Araragi, because Araragi can't see through it for whatever reason, which I'm sure will come back at some point in the story. But yeah, just the implication that this is all post Monogatari, which means this meeting where Orgi's like literally in his room is post everything we learnt in Monogatari about Orgi and her potentially nefarious implications for things. At least, yeah, the way Monogatari is told is that, hey, this should have been known already. Which again, that we had a conversation about that. It's a very, very weird episode. Anyway, summary. Yeah, let's start. Let's just dive in. It'll give me my jumping off points for everything else. Araragi calls Senjugahara for advice, which is relevant due to the Saruga monkey connection that I didn't come up with it, but I discovered it last episode. I'm like, this seems like what Kambaru is talking about. And yeah, if Senjugahara is similar to Shinobu in this metaphor, right? Then the first is Kambaru and Araragi is Araragi, if that makes any sense. If we're comparing the two situations, the two love triangles, which again, we'll look at her words in a way where we're looking towards what Shinobu may be thinking at this point in time. I'm pretty sure that's what the scene is meant to imply. Either way, yeah, she imparts some wisdom. I guess there's also the general theme of romance throughout this arc, so it makes sense that Senjugahara would be involved, considering her role in the story. Either way, then he goes off to fight the first in the duel. We see Araragi, Guyan, Episode, and Kambaru meet with the first, which should be capitalized if I was a civilized English gentleman. He goes to the high school. He goes to Naoetsu. The first believes that the fight is unfair because he is a giant suit of armor and Araragi is Araragi, especially with no Shinobu nearby. Like, he's not connected to Shinobu at the moment, I think is also the implication. Thus, he feels the need to enforce some kind of handicap. Guyan establishes a set of rules for the characters to use in this fight as a result. Something about a fake sword imbued with some kind of energy or something, where it's going to stun them, and that's how we're going to decide things rather than ripping each other apart. Perhaps talking to the nobility of the first from way back in the day as well. Araragi and Kambaru reconvene. I think they talk about stretching or something, getting the best form for the sprint in for the 10 steps to get to the sword first. This is when he receives a photo, which got text from Hanakawa, I believe in Nekoshiro episode 4, which I may go and check that now. Look at what I found, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. That's the photo she took. Whenever it comes up on screen, please. Please show me. There you go. Yeah. Hello, it's Hanakawa. This is the connection, everybody. I found it. So yeah, he receives this photo from Hanakawa, and then gets the rest of the info that Kambaru was supposed to tell him from Kambaru in that moment as well. Araragi then puts together a plan very, very quickly, kind of under the pressure of Guy Nezuko as well, choosing to prioritize the stuff with Shinobu and the first above everything else, but also sending Kambaro away because she's a faster runner to go to Karen or something. I think that Aragi's house at this point in time is also being threatened by the tiger from memory. Putting his trust also in Hanakawa to grow, to change, and fix this situation. That's when we see the connection at the end of Nekoshiro, where Araragi comes back and basically says, hey, you did a good job. So yeah, a lot of Monogatari stuff coming out, as well as a true Monogatari-ism, which I'm going to pen from this moment forth. I don't know if anybody else has thought of this. A Monogatari-ism line is something that, from the outside looking in, may seem provocative, and potentially even a little bit stupid, a little bit racy. I believe the line this episode was, people know that I love little girls more than like the people that I want to save, my friends, right? Which of course is ironic, but when taken out of context may seem very weird, but it's also about outside perception of Monogatari without actually understanding it, and it means a lot of things based on context, and it's all very clever. I believe there's been a number of these throughout the show. Neko Kuro, I believe, had one as well when Araragi's kind of making his final push to, what's the context there? Save Hanakawa, I guess, kind of broadly. Yeah, where he says something that is a little bit provocative and stupid out loud that has some better implications if you think about the context. So yeah, that's something that Nishio-sen likes to do. It's full of irony, it's full of self-analysis, and I like it a lot. Araragi then faces off in a duel and uses a trick with the shrine charm to defeat the first. I imagine those shots looking at the shrine was him formulating this little plan. This results in all the aberrations spilling out everywhere. Shinobu then comes out of nowhere, says her teary goodbyes, which had been set up from the previous episode, the conversation with Kambaro, whilst cannibalizing the goo, says his name for a final time. And you may be like, there's more episode there, where'd it go? Au contraire. It's like, here. Because I've actually put it in timeline, because I think this stuff is going to be relevant. So, graduation, when we thought they were all going to die, that's cool. But no, it was actually fine, because Kaiki saved us. Good. In between the start of Hanamonogatari and then is March 13th. Which is also, I think, one of the days of the exams that he's taking. So Araragi finishes telling the story of August to Augie, where she seems generally pretty ominous about the whole thing. She says something like, now the final piece of the puzzle is in place. Her eyes say Koyo Mist, like Koyomi and Mist put together. Portmanteau, I believe, is the term there. So Augie's really good at this. She'll listen to your story and then say something like out of whack that makes you think, am I actually okay here? Am I going to be alright? This time she talks about the armor, which I don't know why I have capitalized and put in the British spelling, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah, look at that. We can go USA for that one. So yeah, the armor. Does Araragi specifically remember the armor being eaten by Shinobu? No, he doesn't. He says he thinks he does, but he doesn't. And this may imply some things about Guyan, what her ultimate plan was for everything, something about melting down the armor and it becoming a sword called Dreamspan or something. And then this got me thinking, I'm like, okay, well, what happened here at the end of Hanamonogatari with the devil parts? Because I, for some reason, thought Guyan was involved, but no. So I went back to the end of that episode this morning, and Araragi is implied to be in the possession of the mummified devil parts. He was going to feed them to Shinobu. That was our latest implication. This is the end of my timeline. I have no clue what happens after this. I think there's been some talk about something in May, from my knowledge, I think. But I've been wrong before. So yeah, I just think there's something ominous brewing finale-wise regarding Augie broadly, regarding Guyan broadly, and regarding these little plans that the two have. These characters that seemingly know everything. So, like the whole Augie thing, Augie knows what Araragi knows. That's why she's able to poke holes in things and be like, but did you consider this? Even though she wasn't actually there. Like, why would she even think about the armor? Right? She wasn't even in that situation. Why would that become a thought for her? So yeah, lots of stuff to think about going forward. There's also a weird conversation at the end that I probably need to have another read about and see if I can come up with anything regarding happiness, trying to achieve happiness. I guess that's some broad thematic stuff for the whole season. This is almost the season wrap, where we're bringing in a lot of the Sodachi stuff as well, implying a lot of kind of learnings from that. So yeah, I've been rambling for a long time now. Episode good. I will bring episode up now and have another look. Oh, hang on. We're hanging on. Where's my thing? I should talk about this because I started reading this over the night, I guess I would say, and I'll also put my thing here, so I'm looking into my own eyes, which I generally like to do. This is good, by the way. I've only read up to where have I read up to? Chapter 4. So if you think about the first episode of Bakemonogatari, essentially right after he reveals that he's a vampire. He reveals the inside of his mouth and he's like, oh, there's no blood there. It's funnier. Not that the original show isn't funny, but I guess they just cut jokes. So there's a ton of jokes here that aren't in the anime, which is, there's a lot of words here. You can't say all of them. You probably cut jokes over anything else. That would make sense to me. But yeah, it's broadly very good. Just, there's little setups here and there for stuff, right? Like we're already talking about Golden Week. We're already talking about Spring Break, where there's already a part where Araragi says that he doesn't like democracy. Like we're just, there's little stuff everywhere. There's a few little Hanakawa tidbits. Yeah, it's good. I think I'm going to continue my little reading of this, my little book club, as we continue going, and a few thoughts here and there. I may even time code them if I'm reminded or remember. I don't know. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about it before jumping into the episode again. So yeah, opening this episode with the conversation with Senjukahara. So I always thought the implication was that they didn't communicate through this point in time, that there would be some communication after the Hanakawa business, but I guess we don't really see Senjukahara again after a certain point in Nekoshiro. So yeah, I think that's pretty neat. Araragi felt lonely, feels like he needs to call Senjukahara, again bringing in this romantic thing. Senjukahara broadly says Hanakawa-san is under my care, which is like, huh? What do you mean by that? But he learns eventually. And she doesn't take this opportunity to explain things either. Just ask Hanakawa yourself when she's home, I guess. Like, I would probably tell him here, but anyway. So now we get into the meat of the conversation. Araragi asking, hey, when Kanbaru transferred into your school about a year ago, what did you think of this? Obviously relating it to the situation where the first has been revived after a very long time. Frankly, I thought it was a burden, the strength of her feelings. Conversely, you can think of it as proof that I was too shallow to appreciate her back then. Being with Kanbaru would have required me to be a better person. So, again, we're talking about Senjukahara spilling her feelings is meant in the story to relate to how Shinobu will be feeling about the current situation. That's how the metaphor works. So this may be how Shinobu's feeling as well. Being with the first would require me to be a better person. And then we get into some stuff about striving to be better, and how Shinobu may be striving to be better every day alongside someone like an Araragi. Like, I still labor away at being a better person to become worthy enough to be your bride. Putting the implications aside, but like, that's what Shinobu's trying to do as well, right? Like, at least a little bit. Which is hard for somebody after 400 years of living. More, like 500, 800. She's pretty old. Oh, little thing there too. After saying that Senjukahara will be his bride or whatever, she says like omoi, which again is too heavy, right? And then Araragi's like, no, not at all. Like, again, bringing in that weight Senjukahara thing. I thought that was cute. Yeah, it's a pretty peaceful scene after some pretty dialogue-heavy stuff previous episodes. Just, yeah, a lot of space in between it, a lot of peaceful atmosphere, nice little piano track, very, just lying flat at the ruins of the temple. I think it's pretty good. This is where we get a very interesting question from Araragi. What would you do now, Senjukahara, if someone confessed to you that was a better match than me? No thought at all, I'd switch to him 100% of the time. There are no absolutes in human relationships. I learnt that from watching my parents. Interesting. Like, you thought that one thing may last forever, but then things change, I guess. I don't know what it was like before the incident with the parents. I'm imagining it was a pretty loving family. So, things can always change, and nothing's absolute. I kind of get that, okay. Alright, I'm actually a little scared when I think of an unconditional bond. I suggest you take this as encouragement to work on yourself so won't think of leaving. Okay, very pragmatic, but sure. You will never be special, but you can be special in the eyes of someone. That's a great line. I actually really like that. Um, yeah, like there's been a whole sub theme in the arc about being special, about having significance in the story, about things happening for a reason, about destiny, even chosen one status. And I think that's coming through a little bit here with some sage advice. Like, you don't have to be the most special person in the world, the most powerful vampire in the world, the most powerful servant in the world, the first servant in the world, but you always strive to be special, special in the eyes of the other one. To be special in the eyes of you, Araragi, and Kambaro, I toil incessantly. To be special in the eyes of, you, Araragi, and the first, I toil incessantly. That's what Shinobu's thinking. Or should be thinking, I guess. Maybe that's the progress for her. Yeah, where she's practically saying the themes here, right? Where she's like, you're special in my eyes and Kambaru's eyes, Araragi, as well as Shinobu's, which is, what he's thinking about, what he's nervous about, why he feels alone in this moment. Yeah, you realized what I was getting at. Amazing. I realized too, Araragi, I am also amazing. And yeah, even simple stuff here, just like, I'm very happy that you called me. Just good, romance stuff, good, girlfriend, boyfriend stuff. That's just a lovely little line. Yeah, and then some stuff about her being naked or something. And yeah, that was a good opening scene, helping to reestablish this stuff we learnt previous. Was very good. So then we go to the oval at the back of the school. From memory, in Kizumonogatari, this is where we fought. The guy with the shot puts. Remember that? That was a scene. Yeah, it was in this field. That's when Hanakawa runs out of nowhere as well. That was, yeah. I remember some stuff. So yeah, some interesting location repeating stuff. Monogatari's greatest hits, that kind of vibe. This is when Guyan takes the mark off of Araragi's face. Again, this was the mark that this one's mine, nobody else touch him, from Yotsugi, which again has some bad implications, but was ultimately used for his benefit. This is when the first gets kind of indignant about the whole thing, like, that's it? You really want to fight me like you are now? You're basically just a normal human. Got no Shinobu, got no vampire powers. That connection's still severed. What gives? So then we bring in that handicap that he discusses. The other thing here, of course, is that he no longer possesses Araragi's voice. He has his own back from back in the day. It's a pretty menacing little voice. A little bit of a step up from Araragi's yelp, I guess you would say. Yeah, he has grown even stronger over the period of the rest of the day. It's now also nighttime. He's at his strongest point, basically. However, Araragi does not want to win using Shinobu's strength, and, that's why he's here. He's trying to do it himself. Izuko Dono, which is funny, please think of a way to handicap me for this duel. Think up some rules, basically, which, if you think in a meta aspect, is what kind of Gainazuka's doing all the time at every point. She is the game master, in a way. So yeah, this should come naturally to her. So yeah, she does some Dragon Ball Z shit to this fake sword. Is it almost like a kendo stick? And yeah, this is what we'll use. It essentially just gives them a little jolt when somebody is stabbed, so somebody knows that they've been got, but also isn't deadly enough. There's also the implication here that Gainazuko does not want Araragi dead, which, we will continue to think about into the future. Yeah, the Yama sees through it immediately, right? Keep him from dying, right? Thinking back on it now after this episode, we didn't really get anything about enshrining Shinobu, which may, from my thoughts now, just be something in the background that Augie just knows and not Araragi. I forget when it's mentioned. It's mentioned, as the reason why Araragi has that thing in his drawer that Nadeka then goes and eats and goes crazy. But we still didn't really see how he got it, or what the kind of thought was in giving it to him. Yeah, I thought that would be here too. It's obviously a little bit later in the story, I feel. Interesting. Araragi uses, I guess, his little qualifier here in that, hey, I'm not strong or anything, but can I at least have a specialist teach me the best way to run? That's when we get our little, I guess, warm up with Kambaru. We get into some broad stuff around Araragi sprinting and the different techniques used in sprinting over different distances, but I don't really see anything metaphorical here. I mean, I'll read it again, but yeah, essentially Kambaru is just stretching at the moment. There's also some stuff broadly about conserving energy, like he may spend all his time thinking about the running and not figure to grab the sword and stab anybody with it. Kambaru also gives him her shoes. Weird, okay. You guys also have the same foot size, which is interesting, sure. This is when we get this text. It's the text from episode 4 of Neko Shiro that I found before. This implies some things to Araragi from memory, so he only sees this picture and then gets immediately worried. And then Kambaru spills all the beans, like a fire made Hanakawa-senpai homeless. And through Senjugahara-senpai's mediation, she's been staying with Karen-chan and Tsukihi-chan at your house. That's about all I can think of is really good too. Like, you probably should have led with that, Kambaru. That was important information for me that you probably should have told me. Yeah, I like how we're also explaining this away, because if, we were to plot hole this out, you could say Kambaru went to blank and then didn't really talk about this at all and just let it kind of play out. The plot hole was solved by her being stupid. I like that quite a bit. Yeah, so now we hit our conundrum, right? Which direction should Araragi go and all that kind of jazz? Where Guy and Izuko, obviously knowing everything at every point in the story that's happening, it's like, oh, looks like she's heading for the climax of her particular story at this moment, which, again, she is. She's off to fight that tiger. Also, yeah, implied from all of this is that, of course, she's been staying at the Araragi house, that being Hanakawa, so that house may catch alight tonight as well through the tiger's little thing that it has going on with the fire. Again, Araragi shocked to know that Gaien knows Hanakawa. Also, calling her Izuku-san or Izuku-san in front of Kambaru as well, which is, good from Araragi, because he may have had a little slip in the moment, considering he's a bit worried. She says it's a tiger. It looks like Tsubasa-chan has resolved to face the large tiger that controls the flames of purgatory. Sure, purgatory is interesting. This is when Gaien brings up Senjugahara being in danger as well as the sisters. This is when Kambaru gets interested, of course, still having feelings for Senjugahara, of course. Gaien here being very upfront, you should cancel this duel. I want you to be alive. I also think that you should go save your friends, because this isn't as important as we think it is. I can't break the rules myself, so you must do it. So if you want to break the duel, you must do it, Araragi. I can't change things, I can only make things. You know what I mean, right? Maybe a limit to Gaien's power in this way that can be extrapolated to further stuff. Isn't this perfect for you, Araragi? You can call off this fight. You have a plausible reason to do so. Using the same audio technique from before when she was really controlling the narrative, that being Gaien, right? This really radio, TV, kind of through an audio channel kind of voice. You have the choice now, Araragi. Futile duel, or do the other two demand your attention? These two girls that you really like. So which one are you going to choose? You're going to choose Senjo, you're going to choose Hanakawa, you're going to choose Shinobu. Which of these three do you like the most? Araragi essentially tells Kambaru to go to the Araragi house and get Karen. I don't know if this is to evacuate their house or what, but Kambaru goes regardless. It's quite unbelievable, Araragi. You really see only what's right in front of you. Gaien, of course, picking up that Araragi has chosen to stay here and put faith in others, as well as get Kambaru to help the sisters and that kind of shit. It's true that if you send Kambaru, she's way faster than you. She may be able to get to both situations. Hanakawa may even be able to do this alone, because you are the only combatant here. Being the only one to stay behind might be the correct decision. Emphasis on might. But that's just a theory. People have feelings. It looks to me like she sent you that text hoping you would come. And he does eventually turn up, which is good, but also for Hanakawa's story, she needs to do this alone, right? She can't rely on somebody else to save her. She needs to achieve her own happiness. That's that whole vibe there. Araragi, of course, focusing on the person right in front of himself right now. Again, Gaien really here pushing for him to go. However, Araragi has this line. Well, first saying that he trusts them, trusts both Hanakawa and Senjugahara from the bottom of his heart. They're special to me, they'll understand. I trust that they understand that the man Araragi Konomi prioritizes little girls over his lovers and friends. This is the Monogatari-ism line I was talking about before. Something that, hey, if I screenshot this and put it on Twitter, people are going to be like, this show's crazy mental, what? But if you actually Like in the moment, it means something else, and it's actually pretty profound and stuff. So, finding profound stuff in stuff that's inherently a little bit raunchy, a little bit, I don't know what other word, like almost genre savvy as well. Yeah, there's something to it for sure. I'm thinking of the other example of this was in Monogatari, where there's the part where he like lifts up skirts, right? Doing something that is so apropos of normal in the same way that Yotsugi said something that was not allowed to happen, right? It's, kind of putting those two things together in the same category. Yeah, interesting stuff. I'm looking out for more of these kind of moments. Now, I don't really understand the implication here. Guy Nezuko has somebody else's cell phone of some kind. A sword kind of rains from the sky, which is implied to come from Shinobu. Either way, in the story, it serves as a stakes raiser. Like, now this is serious, you guys are going to die if you fail. I don't know what the implication of Shinobu providing this sword is. I don't know, I guess the first had always asked for the sword, so, So she's close, she's probably watching from, somewhere. But she does not show herself, at least not yet. I guess she understands Araragi's implication of wanting to do this alone, of wanting to do this duel, and is just kind of respecting that. She also may be reluctant to meet the first, which has been the whole point. And then when faced with the final opportunity to do so, she does. I guess that makes sense as well. The first here posits to Araragi, like, what does this duel mean to you? What do you think Shinobu's trying to say here? Araragi says, you will never understand. You are special, a chosen being. Perhaps I'm not special or chosen. Okay, this is interesting too, because of all the special circumstances around his reviving, right? Where, hey, there was this shrine that had the perfect conditions with the one thing that happened when it shouldn't have happened, leading to your revival. If that's not special, then what is? In comparison, Araragi sees himself as just a schlub, just a guy. Nobody can replace you. Perhaps anybody could replace me, being Araragi, but you can never be me. I'm special in somebody else's eyes, right? That whole part from the start of the episode. Countless could replace me, but there's only one me. You are not me, I am not you. Isn't that all there is to it? Okay, sure. Broadly, I agree, like, individuality is, important, and having a good sense of self in that way. Again, there's also the whole implications of the rest of everything, kind of one of our sub themes of the arc being special versus unspecial, along with romance versus logic, and then some other broad stuff around achieving happiness, and like there's a fair bit going on here. The comparison between the love triangles of different parts in the story. We also get these scenes here with the feet counting out the kind of steps in the duel, the same kind of foot pattern that was on Araragi's face as well, which I think is kind of neat, kind of clever. There's one particular shot here as well where we see Araragi's kind of bite marks, talking to the whole vampire situation that he's found himself in, which I thought was a neat shot. Only shows up for a second. So this guy kind of mincemeats him in the sprint. He's now got that kaiki drip on. I don't know what it's implying with the costume change, but sure. I guess he's taken off the armor to be faster. That could be something. Either way, he destroys him. He's a way better sprinter. The sprinting here looks kind of funny, I will say. This guy's very vampiric too. Kind of very fast steps with the sword. One of the shoes also falls off as Araragi is running, probably because it's implying that Kambaru's feet are bigger than his, which, again, is also kind of hilarious. Yeah, it does not look good for our heroes, but he has a plan. So we see that, like this here, runs past, everything stops, right? Why didn't you slice the sword? It's because Araragi put one of these, I'm going to say, seals on the guy. Now we remember this broadly as being like something that gets rid of aberrations. This guy's basically fueled on aberrations. This is bad. If we remember, again, there was some implication, I thought, from some other part of the story that this like hurt to touch one of these for an aberration. So if Shinobu got near it, then she would be a little bit hurt, a little bit sore. So for a pure aberration such as Old Mate, like this would be painful and result in him being hurt. Yeah, like it makes sense in my head. I just can't really put it into words. But yeah, and they set this up with a bunch of shots looking at this particular piece of the shrine. So yeah, makes a lot of sense. I do like, yeah, kind of Guyan comes to the same realization at the same moment, like here. Yeah, right here, like Meme's seal, I guess. Yeah, almost like she's providing a little bit of audio commentary, like she's watching along with me, which is something that she does, but also something that Augie does later in the episode as well, which I think is a neat touch. So yeah, Araragi steals back the sword. This is also the sword that he's carrying when he goes and saves Hanakawa in the end. This is when we get kind of tragic. I feel bad for him, at least a little bit. I mean, unless we flesh out this relationship a little bit more in the past, I mean, a lot is being implied, like that this was closer than we thought. But yeah, screaming kiss shot as he passes away for the second time now. It's kind of interesting, I think. Yeah, sells it pretty well. And then we get our CG on, right? There's a ton of text on screen, almost like a black hole. Yeah, all these. And then, yeah, this kind of stuff. People could criticize it for being CG, but I think it's cool because it's also what the aberrations looked like from Bakemonogatari, like just a thing with a bunch of symbols inside of it, right? And what's being implied is that all the aberrations that he's used to feed off of are spilling out. I also like this part here, just like the disembodied head on the ground, still using last ounces of energy to shout out for Kiss Shot. Araragi says, "I don't know how long I'll live, but if we meet again, then let us meet." Don't know what he means by this. I guess, like, this will turn him into dust again and he may come back, but then Shinobu just ends it all and eats him, cutting off the relationship instead of letting it fade. Yeah, that kind of vibe, I guess. Even though the kind of... he's not even quite saying kiss shot anymore, but you can kind of hear, like, the mumbles. It's very good, too, audio-wise. Don't apologize, I forgive you. Big old color change, big flourish in the animation, which I thought was very neat. Yeah, this is just fucking looks awesome. I don't know what to tell you. It looks really good. Proceeds to eat him, but in like a good way, in like a closure way. Almost mirroring a kiss, you know? Then we get his name, Seishiro. Which again, like, we don't need to... Like I said it before, like, maybe there's more stuff coming where we flesh out this relationship even more. But I kind of don't even want it. I like how subtle it is. Just like the one line read of his name, finally saying his name aloud, right? Obviously implying some feelings there, implying some kind of relation there in the past. Ooh, interesting. This little shot here that I just caught. The armor was not eaten. Did you see that? The armor was not eaten. Very cool. So yeah, this probably has some implications for further stuff now, considering Augie brings it up. Yeah, the tears, glad I got to meet you again. Thought I'd never see you again, even though it was fairly brief. But now we'll never meet again. There's someone who's more important to me than you now. I want to be there for him for a while. Finally finishing it. He's no longer like immortal because he's like been eaten. He's dead. 400 years after the first attempt, his suicide was finally successful. Without relief, without salvation, but with closure is kind of the vibe here. I do like the sky here is very cool. We're doing our kind of Monogatari invert colors thing in a very cool way, kind of mirroring it when Shinobu comes down. So of course, you know, your sky would be pitch black and your moon would be white, kind of reversing that. I really like the effect, like a lot. It looks post-apocalyptic. It looks like this is the end of the world. It looks not normal, but in a very, like, almost like soothing, calming way, like the light through the clouds, almost heavenly. And talking about no salvation there. Yeah, there's definitely something in that from that perspective. Pretty cool choice for the visual design. As we kind of end this scene and then get into our epilogue stuff with Augie and Yotsugi. So yeah, now our favorite character's back. Has been intently listening the whole time. Again, almost taking on that audience role of just listening to this part of the story that had been missing for all this time. I'm thinking that there's some kind of gap between Araragi telling the stories of kind of Kabuki-monogatari and Ori-monogatari and all that stuff to Augie. There's kind of a gap between that and this telling this story now. So she's had a similar gap to what the audience would have had as well. Araragi fourth wall stuff, like the rest of the story, the epilogue stuff has been told elsewhere, because it has. I rendezvoused with my vanguard Kambaru and met with Hanakawa and the tiger. I went to Hanakawa and Kambaru went to Senjogahara and made sure that nobody's house burned down and nobody got hurt. Very cool. Thank you, Araragi. Now the final puzzle piece is in place. We can connect this to the rest of the story.
which we can. It's satisfying in that way. A few small parts contradict each other, but making those coherent is part of what I, Oshino Ogi, enjoy as a listener. It's part of what I, Animiddo, enjoy as a watcher. I almost said like my real name there. I can't do that on this channel. I don't understand why. Yeah, call your mist as well, like something misty, obscured vision, metaphor. I don't know. I'm running out of steam. Araragi takes his entrance exams right after this point. He says that it's March 13th, as I've written in the timeline there. So again, I thought the whole point of Yotsugi being close by was that stuff like this wouldn't happen, where Orgi goes to his room. But anyway, like, I think Yotsugi kind of scolds him for it in the process as well. Yeah, and then that's when Orgi brings up the armor. She ate it, I think. This makes Araragi think. This is a bad implication from the story he just told. Orgi seemingly very good at this. The implication that Orgi takes from this is that if you melt down the armor, it being part of his body, you can reforge another demon sword, Heartspan. I think she calls it Dreamspan. If I were Guyan-san, I would collect the armor, lest Shinobu-san eat it. Maybe that's the real reason why she called Episode Kun, considering he didn't really impact anything else besides saving Araragi that one time. Yeah, I think you're correct. Guyan's sus, you're even more sus, and I don't know what to believe anymore, you know? Shishirui Seishiro. And apparently this name is implying some things, because this is the last piece of information that Orgi gives to Araragi. Wouldn't you want to know the name of your rival in love? I guess it's like, how does she know this? Is that the implication? Oh, I don't know. I don't know what we're implying by that. Yeah, Yotsugi teleports in front of you, obviously wearing one of Tsukihi's dresses, or is it like a kimono? I'm bad with these things. I'm gonna say kimono, because this is what she would normally wear. Like, she's probably just out of the shower. Maybe she was having a shower or a bath, and that's when Orgi like kind of snuck in. She says that she happened to overhear the conversation. Don't worry, I avoided contact with her. I clung to the ceiling as she passed underneath. So she was in the floorboards, or in the ceiling more notably. Yeah, like, you heard the whole thing basically. Noting again what we think as well, Araragi is very open around Orgi, just spills all the beans, becomes a real chatterbox. And yeah, Araragi, even after all this time, still denying it, even after all the stuff that happened in August when she showed up, or was it September? I don't know when Orgi first started showing up. I guess I have a timeline for that. Yeah, somewhere in August, I think, is the implication. Somewhere in October is the implication, before the events of Owarimonogatari is when she shows up. Araragi says he's going up to the shrine. Yotsugi says she doesn't remember where the shrine is, which is, again, this is post Tsukimonogatari, like, what? It's where your master went missing? Did Kaganui go missing after that point in time? What is going on? Did you just drop something that I shouldn't know out of nowhere? I don't get it. Yotsugi bringing back this kind of thought experiment from earlier in the show. Are you happy how you are right now? It was kind of the basis of some of Owarimonogatari from memory. Like, they're contrasting Hachikuji, herself, and Araragi as different stages of alive and dead. And that's when we talk about happy. Are you happy in your current state? Even bring in the thing where it's like, well, the first Aberration Slayer guy, he said, hey, is there anything happy about or anything good out of your current relationship with Shinobu? And he wasn't able to say an answer. Do you still believe that nobody is happier if you're with Shinobu? I still think so. Even bringing in Kizumonogatari stuff, this is like the end of Kizumonogatari, like the perfectly unhappy ending from that coming into this, right? Like, bringing in like this ultimate compromise that he made, right? Where nobody ends up happy, achieving the most unhappiness, bringing in all that stuff. I think this is very interesting. This is only just thought of this now. Yeah, because like from the very start of that choice spiraled off into the rest of the events of the show, right? That original choice to make the most unhappy situation possible, right? Shinobu, of course, being the most unhappy out of all of us. At least he thinks so. Those sound like excuses to me, says Yotsugi. It sounds like you're telling me to leave you alone because you won't be happy and aren't trying to be. I think he just wants you to leave him alone regardless, but anyway. It sounds like you're pleading for sympathy because of your own misfortune, again doing her little spins as well. Are you one of those people who think wallowing in unhappiness and bad luck is the same as toughing it out? Which made me think, right? This is very, like toughing it out, instead of trying to be better, is something that I think I do a lot. Interesting. Yeah, I don't really know. Most people just call that apathy. Misfortune isn't a valid excuse. You should still attempt happiness, in combination with a lot of the stuff from Sodachi Lost as well, right? Um, kind of wallowing and being unhappy and having apathy and all these things, right? And not attempting happiness in that same way was one of the major lessons out of what we did. Like, look at your problems, look at what's causing those problems, and try to fix them instead of just existing. Languishing in unhappiness is simply negligence. Not trying to be happy is for cowards. Some very harsh words, but yeah, definitely resonate with the rest of the season. It also won't redeem your dead predecessor as well, which I don't really understand. Was he wallowing in his own unhappiness as well instead of moving on and making things better? I don't know. I don't really know what happened at all there. It's kind of fuzzy what happened in Antarctica. No one is happy, not anybody, lists a bunch of characters. For now, that's what I think. Araragi Koyomi. But perhaps a long time from now, maybe about 400 years, my thoughts on the matter could change. The same way that the first's thoughts on his own unhappiness, that being an aberration, changed after a long time. It's just that Araragi's in the process of doing this over the course of his actual human life. I may not be happy, but happily enough, we still have much time. Time to live, time to think, enough time for corpses to rot away and turn into dust. That this time would come to an end was, perhaps, only a matter of time as well. Yeah, things fade away, right? Time cures all wounds in a way. Or heals all wounds, I should say. Then we see some fairy dust. He looks me in the eyes, looking all sexy like. And we end the season. Yeah, very cohesive in the end there with its messaging, I would say. Kind of just saying, hey, like, happiness is achievable. You still have time. There's not a finite end to things the way we think there may be an end to things. Even in death, there may be something beyond that where we may achieve happiness. Yeah, I don't know. A cautiously optimistic ending at the same time still being kind of a downer. I don't know. Maybe this has more implications for the whole Augie situation, the whole Gaian situation as well. Broadly moving forward. I don't know. I think I understood a lot of that. I think a lot of it is still up for interpretation, and I'm looking forward to reading on other people's opinions on things and that kind of stuff. So yeah, good season of television, by the way. This arc in particular really picked up towards the end, and got really good. So yeah, I still probably agree with those sentiments that are probably an episode's worth of content could be cut early from this arc, but again, I'm not going to complain about having more Monogatari, especially after reading this, of course, and seeing that there's a ton of jokes that are missed, like, basically all the time. So yeah. Yeah, again, overall thoughts, extremely positive, as I pretty much always am. But yeah, I think with good reason this time. This is just really good. In a pretty distinct way, in a way that you don't see very often. I'm looking forward to seeing whatever the hell Koyomi Monogatari is about. Considering now I've watched it in a little bit of a weird order, not the intended order novel-wise, the kind of broadcast order for this portion, I believe was the implication. So we'll see if we can kind of retrofit where this would have been, this next stuff, this Koyomi Monogatari stuff, would have been in the rest of everything else. If I was to predict, I would say that this Koyomi Monogatari stuff will be after the fact. It will be after where we've gone already. There doesn't seem to be that many gaps left in our story. Particular standout stuff was the Kambaru Shinobu scene from last episode, as well as Shinobu's final goodbye. This episode, I like how we're bringing the story all together in a very cool way, linking in stuff we saw from literally months ago, from Neko Shiro into what we're seeing now. So yeah, I enjoyed myself quite a bit. And now I'm going to do my shill stuff. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and you want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought of the episode, anything I could do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you'd like me to follow you back. And the Discord, join Discord, love Discord, Discord. And I'll see you next week for some Koyomi Monogatari action and more Monogatari in general. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye-bye.